Hello and welcome to Unplugged. I'm Phil Dobbie, and with me today is Hans-Dieter Hausner, who's the Australian and New Zealand CEO for Bayer. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Phil.
First of all, tell us a little bit about what Bayer does and how Australia and New Zealand fits into the global picture.
Okay, in terms of the global picture, Australia and New Zealand in its operations is currently ranked number 3 in the Asian Pacific region, and on the global level we are ranked number 18. So despite that we have only 24 million people in both countries, we are playing a very predominant role in the Bayer group. Right. Because if you look at the rankings in terms of population, we are around about 50 on the global level, but in terms of our performance here locally, we are number 18. Right. So it shows you a strong performance of our employees and our organization.
So why is that, do you think? Why are you doing so well here?
I think we have a strong heritage here in Australia. We are since many years present in the market. We know the markets here in Australia and New Zealand, and that's the reason why we are so successful here.
Now you've been with the company a little while, but you really came as part of a package. You're a part of a merger.
Correct.
So how did you make the transition from one company to another? Was that difficult?
No, not so much, Phil, because I went through 5 M&As, mergers and acquisitions in my career already, and I'm now since 30 years with all these companies added up together. But the most interesting one was possibly the acquisition of Shearing. That was my former company I worked in by Bayer 2 years ago. Yeah. And I'm one of the lucky ones which is today also in a senior management role. It shows you how open Bayer is towards promoting people from external companies as well.
Yeah, that's right, because often it's the way when there's an acquisition, the company that's acquired, you say goodbye to everybody. Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, have you got a couple of hints for companies when they are organising M&As? You know, what makes a good acquisition or a good merger?
I think what you want to do is to bring in the best of both sides. Yeah, meaning the best people of both sides, the best systems of both sides, and the best culture, and merge those together. I think if you just focus on putting one culture or one type of organization on top of each other, this is generally then not seen anymore as a merger, as a successful merger. And unfortunately, 2/3 of mergers and acquisitions are unsuccessful. It is proven by the market capitalization of those companies that due to those reasons, they are often unsuccessful.
Because the people are being too optimistic about the outcome? Is that part of it?
Yeah, and because often the acquired party loses its key staff, either through retrenchment programs or because key managers are looking into opportunities with other companies. I think that's something which you need to watch very carefully if you want to be successful.
Now, keeping staff motivated at times like that's important, but of course it's important at any time. So what's your secret to keeping the organisation together and keeping everyone enthused and moving forwards?
Yeah. I think possibly the one aspect which I've come across with Bayer, which is possibly the most profound change as compared to any of the previous companies I worked in, is that Bayer has a very strong talent management process. So we identify in a very structured manner, not only by the word of saying, or do you know somebody, you know, but in a very structured manner on different levels of the organization, the key or high potentials of our company, and we successfully develop them into next roles, next positions, in order to ensure that they stay on board and they get promoted into the right positions at the right time and at the right place.
Right. And a learning culture as well, is that a key part of it? So people keep on learning new skills and developing their skill set?
No, absolutely. That's part of talent management as well. In the area, if you're speaking about training and developing people, we have 3 basic pillars in the organization. One are business training modules. We train our people in strategic planning and improving their business acumen skills. Then we have managerial training, meaning the leadership principles of the company are being trained. So we're trying to make better managers out of our existing managers. And number 3, we offer our people individual training programs, meaning we finance, for example, part-time MBAs, full-time MBAs. We emphasize and we encourage our people to also take up external training. So not only Bayer internal training, but also external training where they would wish or like to develop themselves.
So what is it you think makes people want to come and work here?
Not the pay, not the pay. the pay is one element, yeah, but I think it's more the talent management process and inspiring people to really develop themselves and their career paths in the company. And this is what Bayer is really known for, not only in Germany, but also outside in Germany in the international arena. That is one part. The other aspect, Phil, is that I think we have a very high corporate social responsibility. Now, this is coming a little bit from our heritage. We are over 150 years old.
Yeah.
And having said so, we don't belong to, let me call it a little bit simplistically, those companies which look into hire and fire. And at the moment, under the current economic circumstances, you might find many companies laying off staff. And that is always the easier part to do, yeah? I mean, I don't need to pay a manager to lay off people. What you need to do now in those type of situations is you need to ask your entire organization and your managers, what can we do in order to get through an economic downturn? And I think there we have a different culture, not only as Bayer, but possibly European and German companies in general, as compared to some of the American colleagues, which are possibly a little more aggressive in this respect.
So people would see you as being a very stable company. I
Correct.
think that's part of what you're saying. But
Absolutely.
that might attract a certain sort of person, and yet you're also a very innovative company. So,
yes.
So you don't really want people who are coming to work here just because it's a stable organization.
No, absolutely.
You've got to get the innovators as well.
Yeah. The innovators we have, what I always say on every management team, you need to have a wild duck, meaning you need to have people which are continuously challenging and questioning you.
Right.
And I think those people we also search within Bayer, so we don't look only for stable and settled people, we also look, and that's part of talent management as well, we're looking for people who strive to further themselves. Certainly we cannot offer the CEO or chairman of the group to every employee, but what we try to do is to ensure that people are moving progressively ahead.
So you have fairly fiery management meetings, is that what you're saying?
Absolutely, yes.
And that's a healthy thing, you think?
That's a healthy thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And
no, open culture in that respect, very open culture. Yeah, so it's not a top-down driven culture. It is really, I think what makes a difference at Bayer is that people really associate themselves with the company and they like to stay with the company for many years. Whereas what I've come across in the previous companies I worked in is that possibly the culture is lesser of important, but the paycheck moves into the first position, and that might not always be the healthiest situation for a company.
That's right, and I think people may be realizing that now, that better take the company that gives you stability rather than the company that's going to give you a big salary.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Goals for this year. What do you have a standard set of goals that everyone looks up to? Do you think that's important within an organization, having 3 or 4 things that you're going to achieve this year?
Yeah, we have on the corporate level, we have corporate goals, which we then break down into our 3 subgroups. You might know that Bayer has 3 core subgroups or pillars which we are basing our business on, which are healthcare, crop science, and last but not least material science. And each of those subgroups in itself have again then either divisional goals or subgroup goals which they implement on a yearly basis. And we monitor them through a fairly sophisticated performance management process. It's all online in the meantime with all employees across the entire company.
Right. Okay. And
so everybody has a goal and everybody has objectives, and hopefully everybody knows what they are supposed to be doing.
Right. Yeah. Okay. And I guess those can change over time as well. So you do need a bit of flexibility with
Yes, we allow our employees to adjust their goals also. So we have interim reviews as well. We have informal reviews, but we have also formal reviews through the IT system. And then once a year, at the end of the year, we have the final review of the goals, how they have achieved them versus the original targets.
Do you think there'll be any differences in the way the company operates this year, given the economic circumstances?
I mean, for us, the challenge as a international company is certainly, and you might know this, the devaluation now of the Australian dollar versus other hard currencies, and in our respect, specifically the euro. And this might lead to price increases in the market, to tell you frankly. However, I think as in Australia and New Zealand-based company, we are fairly solidly placed at the moment. We have in most of the segments a market leadership position, or are in the top 3 of our market segments. And as such, we are not too much concerned about the economic cycle, because healthcare and crop science, which constitute approximately 85% of our business, are lesser prone to the economic downturn as compared to other businesses. Yeah, if you look at, and I'm sure you know it yourself, look at the automotive industry at the moment. The big players like Holden and others are having huge problems. Yeah.
So again, you're in a more stable environment. That's
exactly,
for sure.
Yeah.
But you are in an area when you start talking about crop science. That's an area where everyone's ears prick up, and you get into an area where there's rightly or wrongly, there becomes an element of controversy, and that must make it. You must be very cautious, I guess, about the way you deal with the media.
No, absolutely.
So how do you handle media? What's the secret?
The secret is possibly to be as open and transparent as possible. Yeah, I mean, as buyer, I don't think we have anything to hide here. I think in agriculture, and I come, by the way, out of agriculture. I've been 12 years in the so-called crop protection business, involved with what in the past we called agrochemicals, and today we call crop protection products. I think they are necessary, and if you ask your farmers here in Australia and in New Zealand, they will all testify that without crop protection advice and chemicals, you will not be able to grow crops at least successfully and productively on a larger scale. Yeah. No. So we don't believe that we are having issues here in this respect, because we are open and transparent also in terms of how we deal with the communities around us.
Right, that's great. Well, Hans, I'm glad the company exists, if only for Barocca, which got me through the Christmas season, like a lot of Australians, I suspect.
Yes.
It's been a pleasure talking to you today.
Thank you. Very nice, and thank you for asking us those questions.
No worries. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil.